Hello, this is Big Brian the Deal Guy, Brian Gray. But you know me from here on the podcast now, Big Bri, no holds barred. Man, I missed you guys last week. I was at the beach by the pool relaxing, and I said, oh crap, I didn't do a podcast this week. So let me pick a topic that is so divisive in the hobby that people just don't know which end is up. Now, hi, this is Brian Gray, but everybody calls me Big Brian. Before I get into this week's topic, I do want to say on last week's topic, I took some crap about what if Caitlyn gets pregnant. People were saying like, well, what if the sky falls? Or what if a cow jumps over the moon? Or how can you worry about a 27-year-old woman getting pregnant? I said, the fact is, I don't care if she gets pregnant or not. I don't care about any of this stuff. My point is, you just have to think when you're investing in cards about things that can happen. Not cow jumped over the moon kind of happen, but a woman deciding to have a child or having a child is one thing. Someone who hangs around with the wrong crowd doing something stupid is another. You have to think about these things. So again, to those people that I made angry, I'm sorry, but tough shit. We can't worry about that. This is for the people that want to think and are not scared to think even when it upsets them. Again, I'm taking to the Burbank show, which when you hear this, I'll be set up at the Burbank show. You're going to see I'll have $100,000 worth of Caitlyn cards out in my showcase. So I'm not saying it to help myself. I probably cost myself 10 grand by selling you that story 2 weeks ago. But the fact is, I've got to think about it just like you have, because until I thought about it, I hadn't thought about it. So anyway, let's focus on this week and not live in the past. One topic that everybody asks me, and I hear people talking about it on social media, is what happens when Topps takes over. When the license is transferred to Topps. We are just 90 days away from Panini no longer making basketball. We're 90 days away. Topps will take over basketball in 90 days. They'll take over football in less than 6 months, 7 months. Like, people don't know what to think. They don't know what... People are very uncertain about the future. And people seem to be on one of two teams. Either the, oh my God, the sky is falling, when Panini's out, it's over. Or the other side, which is, thank God we're done with Panini and we can move forward to Topps. So I'm going to take this week's position will be, in future weeks we may talk about some of the things we'll miss on the other side, but this week we're going to focus on Topps. And here's my statement for the day / the position I'm going to argue in this one-sided debate. I love a one-sided debate because I can just tell everything I want to say and you can't argue. Actually, you will argue on social media afterward. But right now, and I'll point out where I may be shortcoming in my thoughts, but today we're going to argue this premise. Topps will sustain, save, grow the hobby. I say all those things because it's going pretty dang good. So at worst, we just want to sustain where we're at. We'd be tickled if we sustain this level for the next 20 years. Everybody's going to be rich. Maintain, sustain, great. Save. What if things start to soften up? Who's in the best position to save the hobby we're starting to love, the business we're loving? And then lastly, grow. Who's in the best position to grow the business? My argument and premise today is that Topps is the answer to all three of those premises. Now, again, I will get tons of argument. They'll say Topps is greedy, Topps is this, Topps is this, Topps does this. I'm going to point out the things that Topps does phenomenal. And then I'm going to point out a few differences between the old regime, the old licensee Panini, and the new licensee Topps. Number one, everyone says Topps is greedy. Topps is raising the prices. Topps is, they're charging dynamic prices. So after the first wave, they raise the price dramatically. This is what people say. Okay, let's look at the old regime. And again, I say this because I have inside knowledge of both sides. And most of us at home don't have this. So hopefully you'll find this good information. It's not me trying to be a know-it-all or act like I know something I don't. I'm just telling you how it is. For the last 15 years, Panini has raised prices dramatically. Prism used to be a $100 box wholesale. Today it is $450. So in 10 years, we've had 300% inflation. It makes the Democratic regime we just left look like, seriously, the inflation busters. Because you can argue, people are crying in the world that we have 3% inflation, 4% inflation. Oh my God, the sky is falling. Eggs are too high. Guess what? Eggs didn't go up 300% the last 10 years, but Panini's products did. And that's my point. Now, again, with that being said, I don't blame them. The content is better than ever. The league's licensing is not cheap. Okay? The market was telling Panini these products were worth $800, so why wouldn't they price them at $400? They still left meat on the bone, right? Then, behind the scenes, they had this thing we call dynamic pricing. What they would do is, instead of calling stores and people, they would hold back a bunch of product. And they would tell the distributor, listen, we've got some more cases of Prism. Factory cost is $450. We'll sell them to you at $800. This is when they're not going for $900. So they would let the distributor make $100 selling it to the store, who'd make money selling it to the customer. So they would then charge $800 for a box that was $450 originally. That was their model. Now, people are complaining that Topps is doing the exact same thing now. Except they're doing the exact same thing Panini just did for 10 years. So nothing has changed. The only difference is now Panini, Topps, instead of giving it to the distributor, who they have cut most of their distributors off, because they're trying to take middlemen out of the equation. They want the system to be very store, it seems anyway, store and in-consumer driven. Taking out middlemen should help the customer long term. It takes middlemen out who mark up the products, frankly. So if that's true, and that's their premise, and I'm not saying it's true or not, but let's say it's true, wouldn't you rather have them call your local card shop and let them have Prism for $700 instead of selling to the distributor for $7, who sells to the store for $8, and now the store has to mark it up even more because they have an extra $100 in there for the distributor. So Topps has taken what Panini's done for 10 years and improved upon it. Now, with that being said, does that make it the best scenario ever? No, we probably would like it all IPO'd at $450 in a perfect world. The reality, though, is some products don't perform as well, and sometimes there's losses when products don't do as well. So to me, the businesses have to try to get product out there in an orderly fashion. I have no problem with dynamic pricing. I have no problem with that. And I think Panini invented it. Congrats, Panini. And Topps has done it. But the fact is, it's nothing new. So you're not getting a change with Topps taking over. Oh, my God, they're going to milk prices. It's the same thing we've just gone through for 15 years. The difference is you didn't get to hear about it. They did it with the distributors quietly. And you thought the distributors held all this product? Nah, that's not what happened. Panini just kept feeding them again and again and again and again and again at higher and higher prices. That's how it worked. So in that sense, I think that argument would be debunked. People who say my position is wrong and would say Topps is greedy. I don't think pricing alone is greed. I look at content. Now, is the Topps content justifying the price? Well, let's look at the things people hate the most. On-card autographs. They all want on-card autographs. When I own Leaf, that's the number one thing I took crap for. Brian, you get such amazing signers. Why can't they be on-card? Took tons of crap for it. I'll be honest, it was a combination of it's very difficult with our small print runs, but honestly, there's also a level of complacency and laziness. I'll take blame for that. It was easier for us to get stickers. Now, it would have also been, we would have had half our sets would have been half sticker, half on-card, which is very weird. But the fact is, whenever we didn't do it, customers, that was their number one criticism. Topps, while they do have some products with stickers, the amount of on-card at Topps is substantially higher than Panini. It's just a fact. The Topps on-card autograph quantity is substantially higher. Look at all the prospect products where Prism is, Prism is half sticker, whatever these things are. Topps Bowman Chrome Baseball is substantially on-card always. Pretty substantial difference. The other one is game used or memorabilia cards. Memorabilia cards have kind of become a joke the last 15 years. Because Panini, and again, this is not a bash Panini fest, but I'm just pointing out why the Topps price may be more justified than the Panini pricing. Panini for the last 15 years has slowly evolved from using game-used pieces of memorabilia and instead using not even player-worn, like where the player slipped it on and off for a second. Screw that. They're at the point where it says the jersey means nothing. They're going on to ironically, they're going on to Fanatics.com probably, buying jerseys for $119, cutting them up and making cards. So their logo man, half the time, if it's not game-worn, costs them some small percentage of $119. They got 2,000 jersey pieces for $119 or less. Maybe they're buying the closeout jersey on the side for $60. I don't know. But the point is, game used. Topps cards are substantially game used. If it's manufactured, they tell you this is a manufactured medallion. This is a manufactured commemorative coin, whatever it is. They don't tell you This is not game. On the front of the card, it says game used memorabilia. Topps spends substantial money on game used. Now, with that being said, this is one of the things that Leaf, I got big kudos for, is we only use game used in most products, or player worn, in the case of rookies who didn't have game used. We spent about a quarter of our budget on some products on game used. We did not generally go out and buy the $100 Fanatics jersey, and if we did, we made sure the player wore it, like as a player worn. Like at some point they wore it just to be able to say that the player had contact with the jersey. They wore it for however long they wore it, whatever. Again, you can argue all day about if that's okay or not. But the reality is, Topps is spending money to make sure that the content's good, whether it's on-card autographs, which cost roughly 30% more to get because of all the stuff that goes with it. You lose cards because of shipping, cards getting damaged, having to have a rep go out, whatever it is, it's much harder on-card, whatever it is. Redemptions. The number of Panini redemptions is probably 10 times the number of Topps redemptions, just a guess. Now, Topps used to be very redemption heavy. If you've noticed, that's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Ironic because they're doing so much on card. How do they not have way more? You'd think of Panini's doing stickers. And again, it sounds like I'm just bashing Panini, and I'm really not. What I'm establishing here in step one of this discussion is Topps is already, before they've even taken over, really honed in on the things that are important to collectors and the things that I think provide real value. And on-card, real game used, those seem to be real value providers. Now, if they suddenly jack every product up and they go from, again, they're not alone. Panini's not alone in raising the price on Prism. I mean, Bowman Chrome's gone up. It's part of the game. I totally get it. So again, I'm not saying Panini's the worst price raiser in history. I'm saying nothing's changing. Both companies have made adjustments in the marketplace for, hell, Leaf has too. Leaf products have gone up. I mean, Burnett products have gone up. Every company's products have gone up for many, many reasons, including the inputs, the factory costs to produce things, all those things, labor, insurance, everything's gone up. So I get that. The point being in all this, nothing's changed. So, price. People who are scared that Topps pricing is going to be through the roof. I see no evidence it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be as bad as Panini, because right now, they don't have a first off the line version that you go on their website and they start bidding at $30,000 for a box that ends at five or eight. You know, so like rookie royalty. So like, I don't see that in the Topps model yet. Maybe they will have that. I don't know. But I think the pricing is going to be pretty consistent. I think the quality of the product is going to be pretty consistent, whether it be autographs or game used in the products or what have you. Topps has been innovative. Some of the rookie debut patches and the WWE SummerSlam patch that was on the players, on the wrestlers' trunks, those are going to be cut up and put in cards to create a moment in time relic that commemorates an event that you will have, you witnessed personally, you know exactly when it was worn, and they're truly special items. Again, Panini really hasn't done that. I would just say it's not Panini's fault they haven't done it. It's just Topps is very innovative there. So again, I just think we're going to see in that segment, product quality and pricing, I think Topps is showing what they can do. The only knock on Topps, and I'll give you this as the one Panini argument, the only argument that I can buy of why this is going to be a tricky change is the power of the case set. Panini has done a masterful job of turning Kabooms, Downtowns, and I'm a huge Kaboom color collector, you know that. Kabooms, Downtowns, Zooms, Color Blast, you name it. Turning those into staples of their products. Hell, it's making people buy junk retail products that they would never buy otherwise, trying to chase those cards. But the fact is, those case hits have been phenomenal, but they didn't start overnight. It took time for them to really catch on. And I think Topps, once they take over, I don't think Topps are dummies. They've been around the business a long time, too. They will figure out the case hit piece of the puzzle, because I do love the case hit piece. But based on everything else they've done, I've got to give them the benefit of the doubt. And I got to be honest, in unlicensed, case hits aren't the same. They don't smack the same. Even in Panini, go look at like Kabooms and Downtowns that are unlicensed. They're just not the same. Panini's baseball Downtowns are worth way less than they would be if they were licensed. They have way less, like people, oh my God, I got to chase Downtowns. I never heard anyone saying, oh my God, I'll go buy 50 cases of 3-2 baseball because it's got Skeens Downtowns. I never heard that once. People may have opened it and got a Skeens Downtown and been happy, but like the chase for unlicensed case hits was not as much. Same thing with Topps, Helix, Anime. They're perfectly great sets. I think those have potential to be really good inserts and really good case hits, but when they're unlicensed, it's not quite the same. So I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt to him there, but I will say that's the one place where Topps is going to have to make up the gap with Panini. I would also say that knowing what I do know about Michael Rubin and Mike Mahan and the team at Topps, their contacts are a lot further reaching than Panini's as far as celebrities and athletes. And I think you're going to see more and more big names signing that haven't signed. I mean, listen, LeBron left Upper Deck after all those years and went to Topps. That's huge. Brady, who refused to sign for the last 6 years, is signing for Topps. Those are huge gets. Who knows if someday they get Jordan? Who knows if someday... My point is, if anyone has the money and the relationships to get the biggest names in the world to sign, which I prided myself on at Leaf, I never had these kind of relationships, but I had money. They got more money and more relationships. I promise you, they get The Rock to sign. They're going to get the best in the world to sign. So I think for collectors, that's a positive sign. Now, the next argument that people will give me on this topic is they'll say, well, Panini did so much for the hobby here and here and here and here. And again, most of their contribution was case hits. Was honestly making the case hit a monster thing in the hobby. They did a great job there. First off the line was somewhat innovative, even though products were probably too expensive in many cases. It is innovative. I did great buying first off the line products for years. They've done some good stuff. But the fact is, when I tell you that Topps, in my premise, that they will be able to sustain, maintain, save, or grow the hobby, has nothing to do with the product. I think the products will get better and will be better long term, but it's about marketing. Now, when I was at Leaf, we always thought Panini was a marketing machine because they had a bunch of people working in marketing. Now, what I learned is quantity is not quality. But they put out so many press releases. I mean, they told collectors everywhere, all over the place, the Knights Lance and Panini putting things on Twitter and YouTube and Instasnap or FaceSnap, whatever you want to call it. Facebook. I always make jokes for that. Facebook, Instagram, whatever. And they put out all these marketing things are great. The difference between Topps and Panini so far is that Panini puts things on Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Those are cool. Topps puts things on NBA on NBC or on ESPN. And you're seeing real commercials reaching individual people. You're seeing marketing efforts we've never seen before. We're seeing them marketing to the millions and millions and millions of people that have bought a jersey or a t-shirt on Fanatics.com. You have to understand, they have probably the best mailing list in the history of collectibles because everyone who's ever bought a jersey, hat, anything, probably bought something from Fanatics. So they're going to have the best chance of finding consumers that we didn't even know existed and growing them into collectors potentially. That's huge. That's freaking huge. The commercials on mainstream TV, freaking huge. Having spokesmen like Tom Brady who are out opening 100 stores, that's their vision. Huge. Having guys like LeBron come to Fanatics Fest and walk around. Having Brady walk around and come to the National and walk around and check it out. Having Livy Dunn, having you name it. I don't care who it is, John Cena, whoever. That's huge. Victor Wembanyama was walking around Fanatics Fest. You don't see him at the National cruising around. Instead, he's sitting at home probably playing video games or reading comics or something. He wasn't at the National. He was at Fanatics Fest. These things, while some people think they're hokey and how it's all set up, marketing, whatever, guess what? The average fan who was at Fanatics Fest, just people who lived in the city who went to hear these guys talk, they had an experience of a lifetime. And you know why that is? Another reason why Fanatics markets better than anyone. Fanatics Fest. The first year they probably lost money. This year they probably didn't lose money. But the fact is they put on a world-class event. If they lost money in year one, some people say, oh, that's bad business. I would say it's giving back to the hobby. In fact, I was just asking myself over the last 15 years, where is Panini Fest? Where was fucking Panini Fest? They didn't do anything for you. You know why? Because money was a one-way street. And as a manufacturer, I can tell you it's very easy to be greedy and money to be a one-way street. And I'm not saying they're terrible people. It's just when the money's rolling in, you don't really want it to roll out. Whereas there should be some balance between rolling in and rolling out. They just kept taking the money. Whether it's first off the line, getting premium prices, whether it's the amount of promotion they did or this or that. I didn't see a Panini conference. They piggybacked on the industry summit, which was fine. But it was because it was a much smaller commit than hosting an entire event of just Panini for hundreds of dealers all over the world to come in and doing what Topps did with their industry summit, with their Topps summit. So again, this sounds really petty and like I'm picking on Panini. It's really not that. I promise there are incredible people at Panini. And I'll point out a few. I think DJ Kazmierzak is freaking phenomenal. He is a hobby veteran. He knows his shit. I know Mark Warsop. He's a very nice guy. I think he's smart. He's been around the hobby. Jimmy Stefano. I mean, they've got a lot of great guys there. Kevin Hake. I mean, they got great guys over there. A great enough team, they should succeed. The fact is, the hobby changes. And 15 years ago, when Panini took over all the licenses, if you remember, they took football away from everyone. They took basketball away from Upper Deck. I remember because Richard McWilliam called me when I was in the parking lot at Target and said, the NBA just fucked me. That's what he said on the phone to me. He said, Brian, you may have heard this in King Richard and I, episode 1. The NBA just fucked me. They gave the deal to Panini. They didn't give me a chance to bid. And I said, Richard, legit? He said, yep, we lost basketball. They got it. And I was in the Target parking lot, and I couldn't believe my ears. And I was shit scared. I was like, oh, my God, these guys from Italy are going to come over here and take over the world. And you know what? The market did just fine. And you know what? The competition in the marketplace was just fine. Because people like us leave. People like Wildcard, people like whoever, put up a fight and make great products. It's easy to compete in the market. You just got to find your niches. You're not entitled to make huge profits. You just make the profits you can make. And so that's where the market's going. It's time for a change. We've been in a bit of this. This actually makes me less concerned for the future, because when you get in a rut where it becomes formulaic, all right, downtowns every year, kabooms every year. It's like these formulas are like, you figure out, okay, Flawless, National Treasures, kabooms, Downtown's Color Blast, mangas, slammies. That's like all that matters. Like you boil it down like 8 things that matter. I think it's going to be fresh with a change. I do. So to me, what I'm going to implore you to do, and again, this episode sounds like bash Panini, kiss Topps ass, and that's not what it is at all. Because Topps better be thinking about case hits and things. They better continue to get the best names, and I have no doubt they will get the best names in the world assigned. Case hits, I want to see what they come up with. I want to see if they're able to dig deep and really just kill it. I hope they develop the multi-sport. I heard they're developing multi-sport products, which has unfortunately been like the spot where we at Leaf dominated. We dominated multi-sport. That's probably a risk now because Fanatics will probably be able to do it better. Nothing against Leaf, but it's just the size of Fanatics. Fanatics is big. Leaf will keep doing a good job because they're a smart company, niche, and can move and shake and hustle. But it's different when you have a big machine with big contacts doing big deals. So, but I think multi-sport, it's exciting. Pop culture. I hear rumors Topps is getting into pop culture. If they take those entertainment autographs to the next level, can you imagine? Look at pictures from the White Party. You don't think they're going to get the best names in the world to sign for their entertainment products? And again, that's where I was. That was my number one achievement in the entire history of the hobby for me. It wasn't making repacks, even though everyone knows I created the first real repack, and I always joke about that. It was Pop Century. Pop Century was my greatest achievement in the hobby. It's a single thing I'm most proud of, and I feel like it was true innovation. It wasn't just buying cards and putting them in a box. It wasn't following a formula everyone else had already followed. It was truly creative. And if I could say there's one thing on my tombstone, they're going to put one hobby achievement. I don't want it to say he bought a bunch of cards for buybacks at the National. I don't want it to say the guy had a big mouth. You probably will say the guy has a big mouth and gives his opinion too much. But I wanted to say, man, that guy knew pop culture. That's what I wanted to say. And he was a good dude. I'll take that also. But the reality is, Topps has potential in all these spaces. Are they going to be perfect? Probably not. They're just not. No one's going to be perfect. When you have all these big responsibilities, things are going to happen. But I'll tell you, I think the panic that things are going to change dramatically, the only people who are panicking are the people who've just been cut out of the food chain. Substantially, the distributors. The distributors got fired by Topps because Topps realized they didn't need those middlemen or didn't want those middlemen, probably, because they want to bring it closer to the consumer, even through the stores. Take out a step, take out a bunch of money in the middle to take care of the customer. And I think I don't know if it's right or wrong. It's a business decision. They made that decision. But most of the complaining I heard is from people who either were cut off as distributors, or people who don't have real stores or real ways to sell the stuff, who just had Topps accounts from 20 years ago, who now Fanatics is honing in to make sure the right people are getting the product. And I think those people who are not automatically brought into the family because they just have been around forever and they haven't invested in the hobby, I think those people are definitely complaining. So my point today in all this, again, I'll say it again. Please don't think I'm just bashing Panini. Panini, you've done a good job. You brought us, we did a good job before you too, but you helped bring us for 15 years to a great spot. Your first couple, 2-3 years were really rocky. And there was a time where, I will be honest, at Leaf, I made jokes that within a couple of years, they'd be rowing back to Italy. I made that joke, and I may have been wrong to say, I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but I literally pictured him in a rowboat rowing the cast back to Italy because I thought they had no chance of making it because the first 2 years they were not executing well. And that was for Steph Curry rookies and people like that. They were not executing well. So the reality is I was wrong. That's also part of giving your big mouth opinions like me, is you got to admit when you're wrong. They did not do a terrible job. They did a really good job, actually. They did a nice job of growing for taking the first steps of growth. But I think we have been in, while the market's been hot, a lot of that's due to repacks, but while the market's been hot, I don't think they've taken the steps for hypergrowth, which is having every kid in America, boy or girl, every sports fan or entertainment junkie in America, buy a trading card. That's the ultimate test. So if I was talking to Topps right now, I would say, Topps, that's my number one challenge to you. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care how great the products are. I believe you're going to do both those things very well. But my number one challenge to you is, let's make a range of products in the hobby that is so compelling that every kid, every teenager, every adult will buy a card because you make something they love, whether it's Taylor Swift or pop culture, or whether it's baseball, football, basketball, boxing, tennis. I don't care what it is. Wrestling, WFC, with a wide enough range of interest, there could be a product for everyone. And the minute someone buys their first ever trading card, they're probably going to be hooked. And that's how we're going to grow the market. So what I'm going to tell you is, yes, if you're mourning the loss of Panini, you're allowed to do that. I'm even mourning the loss of Gold and Green Kabooms, even though my collection is getting more infinitely valuable as we draw closer to their end. Because as they end their run, those inserts will go up dramatically. So I'm happy in that way, but I'm sad in the sense that it's been a good run. But it's time for the next step, to go from growth to hypergrowth, to go from, I won't call it low-hanging fruit, but a lot of it was low-hanging fruit. Guys that used to collect cards, we got them back in. Now let's get new buyers. And I think the leagues picked the best partner for that. And if the leagues pick them, I have eyeballs. I can see the metrics for Fanatics.com on using some of these sources. You see how many people visit their site today? It's massive. I got to give them the benefit of the doubt. So let's give them a chance. Let's see what happens. But I'm going to tell you from my hobby experience, I'm going to more than give them a chance. I'm going to predict that they will grow, sustain, maintain, and hopefully we don't need it, but even save the hobby. Because they can do things that no company in this industry has ever been able to do. And even though I like to think I'm the best at everything, those are places they will kick my ass because they know how to market. They know how to get the best names in the world. And they have more smart people running around that place than any other company in the history of the industry. I'm talking Ivy League guys, well-educated business school guys, where most companies are seated with a lot of hobby guys. They have a great combination of hobby people and just freaking smart people. Way smarter than me. And maybe even some of y'all. Who knows? Not many of y'all. Y'all are a smart crowd. But let's leave it at that for today. Come with me on this journey. Let's let Topps prove my premise correct. Let's don't assume that they're going to fail. Next week, I'm going to do an interview. I know it's fun hearing me go on these diatribes. Today wasn't anything fancy. It was just kind of just telling you what I'm thinking. So today, this is probably not my best episode, honestly. I'll tell you, it's probably just me giving my opinions, and I'm giving Topps a chance because I'm smart enough to see that they are built to win and to do a great job and to grow the market. Next episode, I'm going to have an interview. I'm finalizing my guest. I don't want to tease you yet, but I want to find someone who is going to tell it like it is. Someone who's probably as controversial as I am and who we can kick around topics that are these hot-button issues. We'll certainly agree on some and disagree on others, but I want someone who's going to stand up to me and tell me why I'm an idiot, and I can tell them why they're an idiot, and we'll both be idiots together. But I think this person who I'm trying to lock down for next week is not a dumb guy. He is smart. And I think we need a lot more of that in the hobby, because if we listen to smart people instead of just influencers who are begging for clicks and dollars, you'll learn a lot more. It may not be quite as salacious, but we hope it's entertaining. We'll see what happens on that interview next week. Thanks for tuning in. Next week, big interview. But most importantly, let's see what happens with Topps. I have a feeling that we're worrying about nothing. And if they can execute on all the things I've said and even add the case hit mania, watch out. This hobby may not be close to what it's capable of being. I'll catch you guys next week. See you then.